Hi there, this is Janet Copeland with Human Resources, and today we're going to cover sexual harassment prevention. So welcome, and let's get started. While sexual harassment is not required, it is certainly something that we require. It's a part of our values, it's a part of our mission. It goes to the respect and integrity that we provide to one another. Therefore, this training is required, and it will occur regularly. Today we will be covering what is sexual harassment, why is it important to prevent sexual harassment in our workplace, what is our policy and procedure on harassment, and what are your responsibilities. Sexual harassment can be unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal, written, electronic, or physical conduct of sexual nature that affects an individual's employment, unreasonably interferes with his or her work performance, or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. There are two forms of sexual harassment: quid pro quo, which actually just means this for that, or something for something, and hostile work environment. First, we're going to cover quid pro quo, which means a tangible employment action against the victim has occurred. It can involve monetary loss, a change in job, a loss of a promotion opportunity, those kinds of things. An example of that would be that a vet receives a smaller performance-based pay increase than other employees with similar performances because she refused to go on a date with her supervisor. The second type of harassment is hostile work environment, speech or conduct that is severe or pervasive enough to create an abusive or hostile environment. An example might be Max leering and intentionally brushing up against Vanessa. In addition to speech and/or conduct, hostile work environment covers explicit or suggestive items that are emailed, texted, electronically provided, or displayed in the workplace that interfere with job performance or that create an abusive or hostile work environment. An example might be Maria texting and instant messaging her coworkers with sexually explicit jokes and pictures. So who can commit sexual harassment? Anyone. Literally anyone. Employees at all levels from entry level to the top. Customers, vendors, members of the same or opposite sex. And anyone can be a victim. It can be the individual or individuals targeted, or it could be a bystander or a witness not directly targeted that finds it offensive. People wonder why it's important that we would do this training. Why is it important in our workplace? Because sexual harassment harms everyone. The most important part of our corporate value is to ensure that all employees are treated with respect and dignity. Engaging in and condoning and/or not reporting harassment is a direct conflict with our values. We want to remain in compliance with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits sexual discrimination, including sexual orientation or gender, identity, or expression. We want to remain in compliance with similar state civil rights laws and employment laws. So what are your responsibilities? To know this, to know what we are teaching you today, to report incidents that you experience directly or witness, to cooperate with investigations, and to support victims. So what are your responsibilities? What should you do if you feel like you've been harassed? And then what happens? Report to HR. Report anything that you feel like is offensive to HR. Well, we don't need every single call about every single thing that happens in a store. We certainly need these types of reports. There's going to be an investigation. We're going to ask people to keep it confidential. We're going to investigate and talk to different people that were witnesses. We're going to render a finding, and there's going to be discipline if there's a founded reason for it. We'll remind all parties all the time about that confidentiality and about no retaliation. We ensure that the complaining party is informed of a resolution once we have ended that investigation. So in summary, sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, other verbal, written, electronic, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that affects an individual's employment, unreasonably interferes with his or her work performance, or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. There are two forms of sexual harassment: quid pro quo and hostile work environment. It is important to prevent sexual harassment in our workplace because it harms all of us. It conflicts with our corporate value that all employees are treated with dignity and respect. Remember that sexual harassment and retaliation are illegal under federal and state law. Your responsibilities regarding prevention of sexual harassment are to know and comply with our policy and procedure, to report incidences that you experience directly or that you witness, and to cooperate with investigations and support victims. The standard in determining whether or not something is harassment is measured against the reasonable person. This is a very subjective term. Who is reasonable and when? Sometimes I guarantee you I'm probably not reasonable, and sometimes maybe you're not. So keep in mind, reasonable person term really is very subjective, and it means if anyone finds it offensive, it's offensive. My motto is this: think of an individual in your life who is important to you. That may be a parent, a child, a significant other. Now think about your words and actions and determine if someone said that or did that to that particular individual, how would you feel? Use the same standard in your own conduct. Thank you for attending today. You may reach HR at hr@ribcrib.com.